What's up, guys? So the question came to mind, as a Christian, how should I be using social media? I think it's a relevant question because when you look at the research, the average adult spends about 145 minutes a day on social media in some way, either a platform or a combination of platforms. And when we look at how much time is being spent on social media, it kind of makes me wonder, all this time that we're investing in social media, what impact or influence is it having on our faith? I think that's an important question. Now, that's not to say that social media is causing people to not believe in Jesus or social media is causing people to question their convictions or their faith. Really, it's more of, is it helping us to live out our faith, or is it hindering us from living out our faith? Is our relationship with TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, Clubhouse, Facebook, YouTube, is it preventing us from becoming more mature, more godly Christians, or is it helping to serve our spiritual growth and maturation? I think those are the real questions that we have to ask when we start to think about how much time we spend on something or in something, because everything we do, everything we consume, it influences what we do, how we think, and ultimately who we are, what we become. So thinking about how we should be spending that time or how we should be using social media, I think it's a good question, and I think it's something that we should all ponder, because look, all of us are using it. I, for one, use social media quite a bit, either creating or consuming, and all of us can find ourselves in one of those two categories. Either we're creating content for social media, whether it be sharing a post, writing a post, leaving comments, or we're consuming something, watching videos, scrolling, reading comments, just scrolling down our timeline, watching video, whatever it is, we're either creating or consuming. And all of the time we're spending is in some way influencing our faith, either for the better or for the worse. So I think it's a good conversation to have and something to really think about. I personally think that social media is best viewed as a tool, and it's good for us. It's necessary for us to have a healthy relationship with social media. Healthy relationships are built on healthy boundaries, and in order to establish healthy, godly boundaries, we have to have a healthy perspective, right? So it's a tool where we can collect information, we can go get entertainment, we can encourage one another, support one another, we can stay connected to family and friends. I mean, who knows what all we can do? It can be a very positive vehicle. It can be a great tool, but there are also some pitfalls, right? We can get pulled into ungodly and unbecoming arguments. We can expose our hearts to the wrong things, and it ultimately have an impact on our thoughts and our hearts and finally, our actions. So there's some pitfalls we have to be aware of, and we all fall into them, right? Like, I know personally, I have fallen into some of those pitfalls, some of those Facebook debates, some of those arguments, getting distracted, by whatever is trending on social media, and that pulling me away. We can, be tempted to spend more time on social media than we do, as you often hear in sermons, in our Bibles. And, I've dealt with that. All of us deal with that. And I think that it's a matter of, especially as it grows, because it's only going to become more a part of our lives and our ecosystems. And so I think it's important not to condemn it, but to understand it and to gain a healthy perspective as to how we as believers can use it. So I think it's best viewed as a tool, as a source, but not the most important resource or source there is. Here's a challenge I think a lot of us face is social media can be a huge time sink. We can invest a lot of time in social media. For some people, social media has become a way of life. They can't live without it. And I think that that's one of the dangers. And the Bible tells us to redeem the times because the days are evil. And in Psalms, it tells us to teach us to use our days so that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Teach us to count our days. So, we got to be good stewards of our time and when we allow it to consume too much of our time, I think that's when we get into trouble and we're in danger of it hindering our faith and not serving our faith or helping our faith. Again, it is a resource, but it is not the most important resource in our lives. And I think when we understand that, it helps us to prioritize and to limit our time and to limit how we use it and to create those healthy boundaries so that we stay within a relationship with social media that helps us to grow and it helps us to serve others. It helps us to love our neighbors. It helps us to love God more. And so at the end of the day, we have to remember that social media, for example, is a source of information, but it is not the source of information. It's a way for you to be informed and for you to get information, but all of your information should not come from social media, and definitely your convictions should not be formed solely by what you see or what you read on social media. Also, social media is a way to stay in touch with people and to, stay in contact with people and to have a relationship with people, but it is not the best way, right? It can be highly impersonal, and that can tempt us to say some things on social media that we wouldn't say in person. And besides that, when people are hurting, when they need a friend, when they need a brother or sister in Christ, social media is good. It's good to leave a comment and say, thinking about you, praying about you, but calling that person, spending time with that person, being there for that person, there's no substitute for that. And it is a way to understand our world, but it is not the way to understand our world. You get a glimpse of what's going on in the world and how people are thinking and feeling on social media, but we have to step outside of social media because social media, at the end of the day, is still not reality. So we have to remember that although it's a good tool, it's a good resource, there are a lot of positive things that we can do with it. I think it's a great tool for ministry, but ultimately it is not a replacement for the analog and traditional means for loving God and loving people. Until next time.